Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. And today on the channel we're going to be talking about the brand new action drama history film called Medieval. Now, I just heard about this film last week and saw a trailer for the first time, and that's never really a good sign going into a film. But before we get into my review, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, comment below your thoughts, and also turn the notification bell so you never miss any review that I make and I upload weekly. And now without further ado, let's get into the breakdown and let you guys know if this film is worth a watch. Directed by Peter Yuckel, Medieval follows the story of a 15th century Czech icon and warlord, Jan Žižka, who defeated armies of the Teutonic Order and the Holy Roman Empire. The film stars Ben Foster, Sophie Lowe, Michael Caine, Matthew Goode, William Moseley, and many others. The film really centralizes on Jan Žižka. He is this Bohemian military commander, and he actually never lost a battle. So this is the story actually showing his rise to being this famous military commander. And the film is set in the early 1400s during the younger parts of his life. And the film was actually made on a $20 million budget, which is the most expensive Czech film ever made. And a fun fact, this film actually is going to be made into a PC game and also a mobile app game as well. So starting with my positives of this film, I do like the battle scenes in this film. They do feel very authentic. There is a lot of really brutal scenes in this where you have like a chopping off of somebody's arm, you have a rock thrown at somebody's face and they're getting busted open. You have this lion that actually mauls somebody's face, and it does look really realistic, and there is a lot of different brutal kills that happen during these battle scenes. You also have a score in here that does match with the medieval tone, although I will say the score in this film, it can get very generic, and it does feel kind of really just not always the best that it could be. I think at parts it really does flow well with the movie, but at other parts it just feels like a score that you really just have heard before, and it doesn't really make it stand out in that aspect. And when we get into the negatives of this film, there are a lot. Starting off with the runtime for this film is entirely way too long. It's 2 hours and 6 minutes. There is a lot of fluff. There's a lot of time spent on this actual love story with our famous military commander here. And I really just didn't buy into that love. It was very cheesy. It really didn't need to be in the story. And for a history aspect, he doesn't have a love, and they just throw that in there because it's part of like a corporate kind of script to really get the viewers interested. But I didn't like how he spends so much time on this love story. It took away from the battle scenes. You'll have a really brutal battle scene, and then we get all this extra little fluff with the love story, and it really took away from the pacing of the film. It really slows it down. There's also this girl that is kidnapped. She's actually part of the love story as well. She's kidnapped, and a lot of this whole centralized plot, they focus a lot on this kidnapping, but I'm thinking to myself as an audience member, why in the world should I care about this girl actually being kidnapped? Why is she so important to these different armies? Why is she a pawn in this whole battle? They don't really ever explain that. There is no connection with that story really at all. It's very poorly written. The story itself is not presented very well. You have these two armies. They obviously have some power issues, but we really don't know what they're called, and we don't know really a lot about them. So it's really hard for the viewer to really connect with the different characters involved with these armies, and we don't know what side is which. So it really can be very confusing. We do know in the beginning of the film, Michael Caine, he narrates, he talks about how they're dealing with famine. He talks about the Black Plague. He also talks about how there's a lot of church struggles and a lot of disarray amongst the church and the Pope. And they really just talk a little bit in narration in the beginning about the film, but they don't really have a lot of that towards the rest of the film. And you also have these action scenes where they zoom in on the characters during the action scenes, and you have a lot of bouncy kind of cam, shaky kind of cam. You have scenes where there's a lot of quick cuts, a lot of choppy editing. It doesn't look good at all. And when you have this whole choppy editing, it's really hard to get into the action scenes and feel very invested in the action scenes. And for example, there is one scene where they have a battle, and it is done within a bunch of fog, and you can't see a darn thing. So it really takes away the motion of actually watching these battle scenes and getting invested, because if you can't see anything, why would the viewer even care? There was also never anything at stake or really any emotion. You have a lot of these battle scenes and you're jumping from battle scene to battle scene, and while you have a lot of violence and a lot of different kills and there's blood and gore and all that aspect, there's never any connection to any of the characters. You even have our main military commander where you just don't really feel a whole lot for his character, because they just don't really develop these characters a lot at all. They just have this main military commander who is winning battles, he's killing people, and that's really about it. The ending is also very generic and quite laughable. I'm not going to spoil it on here, but it's completely stupid. And the other thing that I really thought was very interesting that I read about this film is the director. So he said that he worked with a historian on this film, but he really didn't really follow the facts of this historian. He didn't feel like that would really make much of an impression. So he wanted to make a film just based on, I guess, what he thought his life was like. And apparently there is a lot of debate about Ziska's actual real life and what he actually did to being this military commander. So I'm thinking to myself, if we really don't know what is true, or we really don't know a lot of facts about this military commander, then why in the world did we even make this movie? It just feels like something that was going to be put out as an action movie and hoping that people would go flock to go see it. But the interesting thing also is this film was shot 4 years ago and it's just now coming out. So if it's just now getting dumped into theaters, what are they thinking, or who are they thinking are going to watch this film? Not many people. If anybody's going to watch this film, it's going to be on streaming, and most people haven't heard of this. And the fact that I go to the theater every week and I just saw a trailer for it last week, that doesn't bode well for this film. So I'm going to give a score of this film a 1.5 out of 5. It's not a very good film. I didn't enjoy myself. I really do like history and I like learning about different events and different time periods, but this just didn't do it for me. It didn't really elevate any kind of story or really get me interested in wanting to learn more about this military commander. I felt really bored, and at the end, it was just really laughable of how they ended this film. Super generic, very obvious that the ending that did happen, it definitely didn't happen in real life. But thank you guys for watching this review, and I'll see you guys on my next one.